Welcome back, folks, to Cinema Alley, the show where we talk about your favorite movies and their stories. I am your host today, James Howe, and always with me, Chris Cupp. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic.
I am shockingly not into the musical mood today, but you know what? We're gonna try to change that. We're gonna try to get into the musical mood because today we are covering the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm feeling
You know,
sexy now.
I guess I don't feel sexy right now. I feel like a hobbit. with the facial hair and everything, I feel like a freaking hobbit. I don't feel sexy whatsoever. But yeah, like this movie has to be one of the biggest, like, it's a party movie. This is like a movie you put on for those musical numbers so everyone can get up, in the living room or wherever they're at in the house, and they can do the time warp, or they can sing I'm a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. That's a mouthful. That's what she said. But oh my God. Like, yeah. So I guess first off, the thing I got to say about the script, because we're diving right on into this because it's a fast paced script. So I think we need a fast paced episode of it. Uh, it's a very fast going script. Like the beginning is a little slow, but that's just because we're kind of getting to know the boring life of Janet and her partner Brad. And once we kind of get to Frankenfurter's place, that's when everything just cranks up. It feels like a party that you just don't want to end. And even whenever you kind of get towards the end when things are winding down, um, it still feels like it doesn't really lose that fast pace. Like it kind of maybe pulls back a little, but we get like a nice, really good rhythm. And whenever I was done when I was done reading the script, because I said it all, I read it all in one sitting. That's just how quick it is, especially when you start reading the song bits and everything. Like they just come smoothly. Um, but yeah, I definitely wanted to watch this movie, and I think I ended up watching part of it, and then I had to go do something else, so I didn't get a chance to even really finish the movie. But what are your thoughts on this script, Chris?
Uh, I mean, I think it's a really cool look into what America is like at the time, because there's this idealized happy couple, and they're shooting for the American dream, and then they go off on this weird side adventure and
Yeah,
discover this whole underground kind of society, weird part of society that's way more promiscuous and sexualized, and that's
more
kind of not
open.
how America, you the idealized American dream is. So they are,
We're perverts in the streets
yeah.
or the sheets, not in the streets.
So I just think it's a fun movie where you're introduced to a whole new concept of there's something different out there, and uh like uh sorry, I lost my train of thought. But
Yeah. Hey, that's my job. That's my
yeah,
job to lose my train of thought. Okay.
but
Oh
yeah,
my god.
no, it's a fun script, and it's really fast paced, and I loved all the characters. They all stood out, and which is funny because in the movie they're all played by the same actors. They're all
Yeah.
different roles.
What was shocking was how quick Meatloaf was out of the picture.
Yeah.
Like I was like, wow, it felt like he was in the movie a little bit longer outside of the dinner scene. But like I was all like, wow, did like really Meatloaf just like come here just for one musical number and then got the cleaver? And yeah. Um but yeah, like the definite story of like it's the it's like almost like the nuclear family or the start of it for like the 50s. It's like the 50s look of a couple. That's what, to me, what Brad and Janet kind of emulate. It's that old school American values, and then we're coming right in with the well, to me, I was like, it's constantly evolving from like, how sexy the 60s were with the hippies and Woodstock, and this one just kind of took that and just cranked it up a notch.
And just introducing two characters who are repressed and Janet's constantly kind of criticizing Brad for not being manly enough, and Brad's trying to like show that he's the man of
Yeah.
the situation here, and he'll take care of things even though he's not in control at all.
Yeah, and it's kind of like okay not to be in control. That's what it felt like, because like even Frankenfurter tried to like comfort him, while pretending to be Janet later on in the story, and it's all like it's okay to like not be in control. I can take control for tonight. It's like why get off me? And yeah, it's like I remember seeing this at a very young age that probably most people would be like, yeah, I don't think someone, below, I don't know, maybe like the age of 13 or so, at least at that time, should have been watching this. And, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the musical numbers and whatnot. And then to grow up and kind of realize a little bit more that it's a story about, embracing sexuality, being your own person. You don't even have to take it in a vein of just sexuality to begin with. Just be you.
Yeah,
That's pretty
be
much to
weird.
me. Yeah, that's what the story is. It's just really just accept that. Like, yeah, they're doing it through like the vein of sexuality because that's something to really grab the audience attention because sex sells and everything. But yeah, like it's just be you. It's one of those few films that really kind of just shouts it. It's like it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be strange. Just be you. There's only a few films I could sit there and probably guess off that actually have that, and this is something totally brand new from the market because I did see a documentary also while reading the script, and they talked about how like they had a tough ass time trying to get this movie to sell out. Like, there were theaters that didn't want to carry it because of the material that was involved in it, and it was like the after 10 p.m. shows that's when they found out that this is the audience that this movie was made for, and this was already an established I think stage play to begin with.
Yeah, and
This
it
was a play beforehand, and they were transferring it over to film.
it
Uh,
definitely feels like that. They carried that throughout the
like
film.
I've never seen the stage play, so I don't know how different it was back then. But again, like kudos to Jim Sharman and Richard O'Brien who wrote this, and we don't have a exact addition to what script this is. This almost feels like the final script, except for the beginning. The beginning's just a little bit different. You don't have the iconic lip sync where it has a different intro. I completely forgot what it was even talking about, but I know it was setting up the premise
Yeah,
of what the Rocky Horror Picture Show would be. And in the script, it's more or less it's making uh sexual references to sci-fi stuff of like the 40s, 50s, and probably like the 60s where because the 60s were Star Trek, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so you even
early
then you had
'60s.
the very very odd costumes that were in sci-fi, and that's where we open up with this is going to be kind of weird breaking down the story because it's not your usual story. um like it still has like all the basic little beats, like you have your established characters, you have your call to adventure to a certain extent, you have your ordeals, you have your rewards, you have your climax. um but again, I think this is just kind of what makes it interesting in itself. It's an interesting creation. It's an interesting creature that exists in musical storytelling. And I don't watch musicals all too often. Um, we probably should have brought our musical friend Shay on here because she's really huge in musicals. But yeah, so we're gonna jump right into the hero's journey. It's a bright and sunny day for Brad and Janet. Their friends are getting happily married, and it's almost like they're all like, when's it gonna be our turn? And then of course Brad does propose to Janet so that they can be normal and happy. And again, it's commentary that it makes it sit there seem even for the youth that at such a young age you have to follow in line of marriage. You have to find your partner early. You have to get married. It's like a societal rule book almost. Otherwise, you feel like an outcast of why aren't you married? Why aren't you having children
Yeah,
and whatnot? And
subtly pushing the American dream on ideals into the front of the story there.
yeah, on our characters. And I guess that's also kind of why our characters don't act very volatile towards Frankenfurter's friends and
Mhm.
partygoers. It's that they're not really already on that extreme American dream side, of like, it's like, well, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense. This is all foolishness. And no, it's like they're more like they have an ear open. They're like, okay, what is this? You know, at least that's from my understanding, Chris. What about you?
Uh, I mean, when like they arrive to the castle and they are meeting everybody, like I don't know, it's just sorry, dead air. Yeah, sorry.
what,
Can we?
what
I totally
you,
just spaced on what I was gonna. I was reading it and I spaced.
oh my god, it's the beer. It's the beer. You're, you're
Yeah,
you're still shaking off that
I
beer.
am still a little head. I had got a little headache,
But
but
yeah, like when they get to the castle with
yeah.
Janet and Brad, you're really gonna make me edit the whole
I'm
like.
sorry, man. Yeah. When they get to the castle and they're like breaking down in front of the castle, which like this whole story just has like Frankenstein vibes to it when
Oh
they're like,
yeah,
yeah, they're seeing the bikers drive past them and they're getting stuck on the dead end road. Like, well, someone must have come through here. They're like, so they go into the castle and they meet everyone and they're like saying, "Oh, there's a party going on," and they're getting the weird vibe of the castle and the
this isn't your
atmosphere everyone's
normal
giving off.
party.
Yeah.
You know,
So
uh,
yeah, it's just I don't know if they're like feeling that they're in control, but like they're ready to take control, sort of. But
yeah,
they're
and then but before
also
then we
like,
break into the time warp. You
yeah,
know,
but they're
like
also
we're not really
scared
going to
too.
discuss music like the music points here. We're going to try to focus a little bit more on the story here, folks.
Yeah.
um but we will discuss the musical numbers afterwards because it kind of feels like that right there just needs to be a discussion all on its own. um like really, I think there's only really two songs of this whole script that I really enjoy: Time Warp, and then um the Sweet Transvestite. And then kind of afterwards everything else kind of, it just kind of rolls in the rhythm, you know. Not saying or saying like it all feels like it's the same, but like to me those are like the memorable songs. I can't stand Damn It Janet. I can't fucking stand that song. I hate that song. uh like it's a good song, but god, like I'm pretty sure as much as people are sick of Time Warp, I'm like sick of Damn It Janet.
I can never get rid of get tired of Janet.
Yeah,
Janet is the
but
greatest.
but yeah, so like the call to adventure, they arrive there, their car breaks down, there's the bikers that are there, and they're just trying to sit there and get a phone call. And it's so funny because they break into this whole musical number, and they're over there all like is there a phone? And I don't even think there is,
No.
or I think there is, but I think like the towers are down and everything, the poles and everything are down. So it's like, yeah, you came for a phone call, but what you really came for is a party that you weren't invited to. Um, and of course Janet, yeah, where you more or less, her character is like Brad needs to take control of the situation because she's scared and everything. And it really sits there seems like Brad's kind of like that character that is very much in trance. Like even throughout the whole time warp, where you see these crazy, colorful characters, they're dancing, they're doing pelvic thrusts. We break in between with the narrator, who's like narrating the dance,
Yeah.
and Brad's just over there with a smile. It's very much he's enticed by it already from the get go. He's enticed. Janet's not so much. Uh,
Oh,
and
I got the vibe that Janet was like just as like ready to jump into it, but
she was more
was
in
afraid of
denial.
what Brad was
She
gonna
was
do.
I feel like
Or
Janet
like,
was more in denial, where Brad was all like, he's just that smiling dad that's like nowadays. It's all like, yeah, all the kids are having fun, you know. But yeah, I feel like Brad's more open to it. Janet could be, but Janet more is restraint, you know.
yeah.
Uh, And of course, again, the script moves by so fast, you can't really sit there and, I guess, look at the script by the pages of the Save the Cat script of like, oh, you meet the mentor on this page or this general sense of pages, because everyone, like the whole cast, just comes in. They just roll in like no tomorrow. We meet, at least to me, is Dr. Frankenfurter, who is the mentor. That's who I see. He may be perceived as like the antagonist,
I
but
definitely see him as the antagonist.
I also do think that probably mentors can be antagonists as well.
Yeah.
But I very much sit there and see that Brad and Janet, like it's more of Brad's being a little bit more open. Janet kind of wants to, but she's refusing. So it's more of them clocking heads because it's their values, it's the values they grew up with, and they're being challenged by this man that's dressing up as a woman, uh, and just doing all these wacky things that Brad and Janet don't sit there and see on a normal thing. So yeah, like Frankenfurter very much in a extravagant entrance comes in. I love the elevator sequence. It's actually some of the best transitions to like a scene because it's so dramatic. It's like the moment he goes up there, and kind of when I'm reading the script in head, I can hear the music as the elevator goes up, and
Yeah.
it's like, where the hell is this fucker taking us? Like,
Taking us on
it's
an
coming. It's all
adventure.
like, it's like, if you don't think this is weird enough, we're about to get weirder, and you're watching the elevation, and I wouldn't doubt it if through the pacing of the up and downs with the story, if they did that on purpose with the elevator, because they do use the elevator quite a bit of going up, going down,
Yeah.
and thinking about it through a filmmaking standpoint, that's actually pretty genius. It's like, are we going up or are we going down?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty genius. I like that.
That
I
whole
don't.
visual representation of it. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know if Richard O'Brien directed this or not, which is uh, I need to look it up to make sure. Did he? Okay, so Jim Sharman directed it, but it was co-written by him and Richard, uh, which is based off of Richard's stage musical. Um, and again, Barry Bostwick, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Curry, all these characters are fucking wonderful. You don't really sit there and see Barry much in anything anymore. But yeah, so um, we kind of like move on over to the crossing of the threshold. Brad and Janet's clothes are removed because they're still in the wet clothes from the storm, and they end up spending about a certain chunk of the movie in their underwear, which again goes to sit there show you these characters are vulnerable in a situation they don't know. Great, just cinematic visuals of it all. Um, and yeah, they're brought to the Mad Doctor's laboratory where we get ready to is this the moment where Rocky comes to life? I think
Yeah,
this is right.
he's about to bring Rocky back, Rocky to life, and he's created the perfect little man, or I guess toy, for him to play
Yeah.
with.
Well, he treats him like a toy,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's created human life. So you get at the beginning, which is odd. You get this sci-fi, kind of like B picture horror references and sexual innuendos.
Yeah.
But when you look at the overarching story, this is just a very sexual Dr. Frankenstein story. It's a very gothic horror esque, but it's not really horror in a sense. It's just something to be laughed at. But they use some of the tropes of horror for this with the fun musical numbers, and
Yeah.
there's so many layers to this. I don't really know that we could cover that in one episode of the layer of the amount of layers of
Of like the
what
foundation they used
y-
to
yeah,
build the story up.
exactly. Again, we're covering the story here, but again, if we ever do another podcast where we're talking about visual, style and all that, then this is definitely another movie we got to cover. Um, for what it is for a short film, this uh, this has a lot of thought to it. Richard and Jim put a lot of thought into it. And I feel like some people kind of overlook that. It's like if you really analyze this film, it's fucking smart. It is fucking smart. So yeah, so Rocky comes in, and Brad and Janet, Denton, Texas, which is funny because it's like I'm reading this, so it feels like some of the scripts I'm reading are all from Texas, or they take place in some instance in Texas. Frankenfurter and his minions, Riff Raff and Magenta, and his groupie Columbia. We get all of this, and Jesus, when did Rocky pop up? Because it sits there and seems my outline. Okay, so the approach to the innermost cave. This is where, because we had the mummy thing, which again, another nod to Universal with Rocky wrapped up in mummy wraps and everything. He brings them to life. Janet is actually very intrigued by this. The whole damn time that she's kind of neglected, or not neglected, but rejected the
Like her
ideas.
her whole anytime she tries to speak up, Brad kind of shuts her down.
Yeah, but with Rocky, that's when I feel like the character of Janet comes to life.
Yeah,
And
because she's like seeing something that's like, ooh, a real man.
yeah, well, and that's the thing that really kind of gets under Brad's skin. It's that she's looking at this guy as, oh, that's a real man, through a caricature that a real man is this blonde hair, blue eyed, very, strong kind of guy and everything. And to Brad, he looks at that, that's kind of unfair. It's like, how the hell am I gonna freaking compete with that thing? And yeah, so Rocky's brought to life, another musical number, and Frankenfurter's just chasing him around like, it's like would you say catcalling? I think it would go a little bit more up above of like sexual harassment. This thing is just born and he's already wanting to jump its bones. It's all like the thing I've wanted all this time, and you know,
That's
uh,
kind of gives you insight of into Rocky's character. Like he sees everyone as just a plaything and for like his toy.
Frankenfurter, you mean?
Yeah, Frankenfurter.
Yeah, Rocky is the monster,
Rocky. Yeah,
or the,
but
the the human, but quote unquote, he plays the role of the Frankenstein monster in this, um, as the misunderstood
we're
creation.
we're about to see that when the ex delivery boy Meatloaf comes in and is brought back to life, and he and Columbia had a thing. So
Yeah, but like it also sit there seemed like Frankenfurter had a thing for Columbia too. It almost sit there seemed like everyone in the castle is Frankenfurter's play toy.
yeah,
Even Brad and Janet, they are. And the moment that that Meatloaf's character comes in, yeah, like it almost feels like, um oh my god, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It almost feels like Frankenfurter's jealous that one of his toys are going to be taken away. And it does get brought up later on through Columbia, because Columbia stayed so faithful to Frankenfurter, but it almost seems like the moment that he gets bored with his toys, he casts them aside. But
yeah,
it's like he doesn't let them go. So already, Frankenfurter is this very abusive, toxic partner. He keeps all of his old lovers together in case he gets bored, but also too, he doesn't want the rest of the world to have it. It's like, no, you're mine. It's like, I may not love you like I did, last week, but you were still my property. So yeah, okay, I can sit there and see kind of going through in my brain, because the coffee is still not hitting me 3 hours into this, um but into this day. But it's like, yeah, he doesn't want anyone else to be happy except for him, and that's mostly because he's not happy.
yeah.
And so he thinks creating the perfect man and everything. And then Meatloaf comes in, and we get like a little short,
Kind of crashes the show.
musical. Yeah, he crashes the show. And we all know you can't take Frankenfurter's spotlight. Like, he is the spotlight of the room. And I think almost everyone knows a friend or so that is very much like that they got to be the
Center of
spotlight.
attention.
Yeah, don't look at me like that, Chris.
Nah,
And it's yeah, Frankenfurter just has like had enough of it, and he fucking kills him. I'm guessing a second time. I'm guessing he killed him the first time and everything, but he came back.
yeah.
And
I'm maybe he didn't like kill him. Like maybe he just like knocked him out and like threw him in the freezer because he thought he was dead or something. And then he
Yeah.
like crashes
And
through.
this, yeah. And then he goes and he makes dinner out of him. Like Columbia's like all shocked, and then everyone's there eating him. They're eating meatloaf, and it's like God, the irony of all of this, and yeah, to me this is where the tropes of horror come. But now, like ever since I have finished reading A Place of Darkness, which was like a rhetoric on early American horror, there's so much now that when I analyze things, it's all like, oh, this kind of like has taken so much of the horror tropes. So I've like identified a lot of the horror tropes of things that kind of borrow, and it's all like this isn't really meant for like a scare, but it's meant for a laugh.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course the irony. Oh my God, they're eating the guy that they just saw Frankenfurter butcher. Again, it's I don't know, dark comedy. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think you
mean, it's
just label
definitely a
that just
dark
as
comedy.
I don't know. My form of comedy is pretty damn dark. So whenever I have to ask people, it's like, that's dark comedy, right? And he was like, yeah, that's pretty dark comedy. And it's all like, okay, good. Because my sense of humor is pretty fucked up, folks.
But yeah,
Um,
no, he kills Meatloaf and he goes off with this new toy. And
mm-hmm.
Riff Raff and Magenta are kind of annoyed with Frankenfurter.
Yeah.
Forgot off the top of my head. They're mad because they came there from another galaxy with a mission,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Frankenfurter kind of hijacked it for his own pleasure, and
Yeah.
so like they
Well,
try to
I think
kill.
they were like only there for like a mission, but
Yeah.
he wanted to stay because he was enthralled by human beings and
Oh yeah,
um which that does make sense now with the script with the sci-fi aspect because it eases over into your typical gothic horror trope that what we're familiar with because again we have to have ourselves in some familiarity of the concept of what the story's going to be, and then they evolve it into, oh, you thought this was going to be just a complete ripoff of Frankenstein and the classic Universal monsters. No, we are ripping on even the sci-fi stuff that came afterwards. So it's more of a hybrid, which really you can sit there and say Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a hybrid of horror, of gothic horror and science fiction.
yeah,
Um,
and you definitely see
it's
the like kind of satirical elements of like when Riff Raff and Magenta come out with their space suits and they're like the old classic 1950s spacesuit like get up, and it's just
the
exactly
Flash
what.
Gordon serials, yeah, where
Yeah,
it's
it's
you know all you're waiting for is to sit there and see some guy with some like very offensive drawn on eyebrows in the background, you know, and it's like oh my God. Um,
don't make
so
fun of my eyebrows.
believe it or not, I know quite a lot of people, in some of the horror community that actually have those eyebrows. Not throwing shade or anything, but every time I look at that, like all I can think of is, God, where the hell's fucking Flash Gordon when you need him? So yeah, again, like with Eddie being killed, Brad and Jen have no idea who to trust anymore, um, and I want to believe this is right. This is right before Eddie's father comes in, but
Oh,
they
I think it's
are.
his uncle or something. Like the
Yes, yes.
doctor's his
I
uncle.
knew it was a family member, but
Yeah,
it's like after dinner because like dinner's been ruined. Columbia's crying because she's eating her lover, quite literally, and Frankenfurter kind of like knew it's all like I kind of ruined my own party, but oh well, okay, everyone, let's go to bed, and Rocky, of course, uh, Rocky runs off. Because even when Frankenfurter's trying to get his rocks on, it's like the creation that he's made, it's almost like the reverse Frankenstein thing, where the creator rejected the creation, but it's the creation this time rejecting the creator, because it's like I don't accept you for the human being that you are. Probably not so much for the sexuality, but for the actual person Rocky is, of just being abusive um, and selfish and
he's got
careless.
the mind of a scared child.
Yes,
Yeah,
very much so. And when Rocky starts fucking around with Janet, dressed up as not Rocky, Frankenfurter. Now you got me screwing it all up.
well, this is
when
the, Rocky goes and beds Janet and Brad on two separate scenes, but in the between
yeah,
Riff Raff and Magenta plot to kill Rocky, to like get back at Frankenfurter. So
Yeah,
Rocky escapes and runs off, and that's after I think after he sleeps with Brad and Janet at the
yeah. But
at
also
the
too,
same
it's
time.
it's those scenes though with Frankenfurter invading their Janet and Brad's separate rooms and everything. Like it already sit there seems like the with the creation of Rocky in front of Janet, the seeds of an affair were already planted,
Yeah,
and Frankenfurter took advantage of that and abused it. Um, and so it really got kind of goes to sit there and show that our heroes, or I don't really like to label them as heroes in this because it's more so are just our protagonists because they're just people. They're survivors. They're you know that
they never.
they're not 100 they're not 100% squeaky clean because Janet is having issues with Brad and she would much rather have an affair to maybe try to quell those urges.
Yeah, get them out
And
for
where
system before
Brad
she married
also
him.
too kind of has more Brad's a little bit more in the closet of, you know what, maybe I could actually be with a man and everything. I feel like there is some commentary on there. Maybe I'm reaching for it, but you know,
I mean,
just from the visual and then just reading the script, it it feels like everyone has like a little something inside that they hide from them,
yeah.
and Frankenfurter exploits it and gives us a visual of it's okay, even though they're over here like it's not okay, but it's all like just embrace it. So even though he's such a toxic person, at least Frankenfurter is sitting there saying, "Be yourself." Like for the love of Christ, just be yourself. Um, and then yeah, like the whole damn time, Magenta, Riff Raff, and Columbia are watching it, and even Columbia kind of gets a little upset um, when you know he's messing around with Janet, and it's all like it's like yeah, like you're not the only woman. I'm pretty sure he did it to Magenta. He did it to you. He's doing it to everyone. He's taking full advantage of everyone and their vulnerability. And then when Janet obviously runs off to go be with Rocky and finds him, you know, it's almost like this nurturingness, and you know, she knows if she can help Rocky out, then Rocky can help her out. And
I
then
mean,
that's where you get
I,
the
I don't think that was like her intention. Sort of like I think she just kind of stumbled upon him and is just like trying to comfort him, and one thing leads to another. You know?
yeah. Well, like she has her own sexual urges as well, and
Yeah.
Rocky is still very new to the world, so yeah, I wouldn't sit there and say she took advantage of it,
Yeah.
but you know, uh yeah, like yeah, you know what? Before I was recording, I was really kind of wondering how the fuck do we talk about this? It's like I don't really think it's been a while since I've really had an open discussion about sexuality, which really that's all what this film really does talk about as well. It's the commentary on it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find like the right words to use for it. So I'm trying here, folks. I'm trying. This isn't a discussion I have on a fucking daily basis where I sound like a scholar. I don't. Um,
I do. Let's talk
but
about sex.
right? Oh, I'm pretty sure when people saw the tire, it's like, yeah, they're gonna talk about sex
Yeah.
and then they're all like, dude, this dude's like analyzing it through the basis of the horror tropes all the way to Flash Gordon. Who the fuck is Flash Gordon? And it's like, oh my god, it's a serial that no one really. It's a product that not many people sit there and know.
Yeah.
If you read comic books, you know who it is because like he's super big now in comic form again. Um, like what is it, IDW I think, or it's Dark Horse. They do reprints of the classic stuff, and then they do like new twists on the myths and everything, like the lore of Flash Gordon. So, but anyway, I digress. We're getting off track. So yeah, the sexual experience awakening with Janet being seduced by Frankenfurter, and with Brad as well. She decides to take matters in the other hands, and you know she's gonna go get laid with Rocky. And then this is when Frankenfurter rejects the creation because it seems like he's been
Tainted,
um,
sort of.
yes,
Yeah.
tainted. It's all
Someone
like, you
played
know,
my
with your
my toy.
yeah, and it's all like, dude, it's like you're playing around with everyone else's toys. It's all like
You should be like,
it
but this is my castle.
yeah, yeah. And this is pretty much like if the party wasn't already fucking shit now, it's hit the fucking damn bricks uh with Rocky sleeping with Janet. And even then Brad is like, oh my god, what the hell. And I think this is when the uncle arrives, or I think we've completely missed the uncle's part.
I
did,
mean,
did he did he come at the table not knowing that they were eating Eddie?
I think they show up at the. I think they show up later. I think the dinner scene happens later,
I'm pretty
like
sure
after
people are like,
this, right?
I'm pretty sure people were all like, like,
Because everyone,
what.
Rocky is brought to life. They do the whole chase scene. Meatloaf comes and interrupts, and then they kill Meatloaf, go off to separate bedrooms. The riffraff tries to kill Rocky. They look for Rocky, and then Brad and Janet. Janet finds Rocky, and they make
I,
whoopee.
Yeah, I've
And
gotten
then
so confused now because of like it jumps around a lot,
yeah,
so there's not really like a solidified. I'm pretty sure diehard fans over here. It's all like like they're like we know the order of the story. It's
yeah.
like, but we're also just trying to tell it to the people who are new who have never seen Rocky Horror.
I think
Um,
uh, the doctor comes to the door, and Rocky or Frankenfurter is like, "Who are you with? Are you with like the FBI or something? Or are you with?"
which he actually is.
Yeah,
He's secretly an FBI agent.
yeah.
Um,
So like, no, we're not. We know him, but like, he's not with us. Like because they were off to
yeah,
find this doctor before they
well,
got
he already starts
diverted to
getting
the castle.
paranoid.
Yeah,
Frankenfurter starts getting paranoid because he's like, there's these two random people that just popped up on my doorstep, and now you pop up, which obviously I do think that Frankenfurter does quite know who he is already.
yeah,
It's just he's waiting for him to fucking state it. Yes, I am with the FBI. Eddie was our mole, which probably is the reason why, not only, yeah, he was fucking around with Columbia, but the reason probably for Eddie's death to begin with was he was narking. He was feeding information on what's going on in this castle, which is like a really interesting, like sub storyline into this. It's like, well, what the hell has Frankenfurter been doing that wards, J. Edgar Hoover to send an FBI agent and to have a biker gang be your what is it, like your mole and everything in this whole operation, which really we don't get that. We don't really get that kind of story. It's just, I
no,
think they're just wondering what the hell is this weird fucker doing. And
yeah,
it probably just goes more into the whole thing of, we know aliens are here, we're just trying to find the proof. So that probably could easily have probably tied in, but also I think that there's something more to it.
eh.
But
I mean,
but it wasn't memorable in the script to me, because to me what was memorable was what Frankenfurter was doing.
yeah,
Like, to me, when you walk away from the script, Frankenfurter is
this is
the
definitely more of a theme kind of story where you like lean in on the theme than actual like story elements. Like
yeah.
character backgrounds.
And yeah, so with Rocky being tainted and whatnot, pretty much everyone gets turned into stone.
Mhm.
And there's like this huge big musical number that they go to, Dr. Everett Scott. That's what it is and everything. But
Yeah,
yeah, he's an FBI agent. He brings with him the potential to bring Brad and Janet out of this craziness, to back to some normalcy. He's looking for his nephew Eddie. Okay, so I guess they must have like been at the dinner scene a couple of times.
I'm
Eddie is
pretty
dinner
sure it was
actually.
just the one
Janet.
time. I think we just skipped
What?
ahead there, like because
Oh,
they
okay.
invite him in and they're like having dinner, and
Yeah.
Doctor Everett's like, "This is why I'm here. I'm looking for my nephew," and then they like reveal they're actually eating Eddie, and
Yeah.
that's when Columbia freaks out, like, ah,
Yeah, and then when everyone getting turned into marble, getting turned into stone, they they get what was it? They get dragged into like the actual swan song for Frankenfurter. Like, this is the end
yeah,
of our villain. And as like he's doing like this huge thing, there's like what is it, like water Pilates or something like that he's doing,
yeah,
like the water dances. He's going all out, and I think he kind of knows that, okay, if the FBI are on my ass, I'm not going to have no fucking freedom whatsoever. and so he just, it's like he's almost like he's scaling up whatever plans he has, which again we don't really quite know what the plans are. We don't really know anything. uh and throughout this whole song and everything, Riff Raff and Magenta, they've completely dropped the whole butler and maid outfit. They're in their alien getup, and they're all like, okay, it's like we're tired of the shit. It's
We
like
want
we're
to go
done.
home.
Yeah, we want to go home. We miss our home. We're not dealing with this bullshit anymore. You've had your playtime. So I don't even think that they were even gonna bring him in alive. Like they're
No,
like, we're just gonna kill you and go. It's
pretty
like,
much, yeah. Like I think they
which
kind of said it at first, and then they like kind of changed their minds after Rocky's like trying to plead to them why he's doing all this, and
yeah.
then they're like,
But again, it's Rocky's in his not Rocky. Frankenfurter is in his own world and everything. Like, they kill Rocky. They kill Columbia. I think those are like the only other two casualties in this script.
yeah, because
Um, Other than that,
Bracken and Doctor
the
Scott,
humans, yeah, the humans are spared.
yeah,
And Frank is killed in very dramatic fashion. Um, I think actually it was what, like, wasn't like a building, or like it was something that
he was
collapsed on him.
climbing like a little antenna tower that
Yeah,
kind of weird
and
trying to
everything.
get away, I
Which
guess.
obviously that tower in the film was a huge representation of the RKO Pictures Tower,
Yeah,
because again, like the guys who made this movie, they love old school cinema so much. So not only are you getting the Frankenstein gothic horror stuff, and you're getting the old school sci-fi stuff that probably at that time, that's what O'Brien and them were, they grew up watching. But like you get a nod to RKO, which again is not a company around anymore. Like that was one of the huge founding big members of the Hollywood system of the studios, because Universal was not a big one. It was Lowe's, MGM, Fox, RKO, and Paramount. And so Universal, was like, throughout, like, I think the 30s, they were just now making their big break and becoming a part of it. So it was nice for like a fan of film history. It was nice seeing all of this. And even in script, the way how they describe it, it reminds me, oh, it's the RKO thing because they had the radio antenna. Um, so yeah, he dies quite literally in the spotlight, and quite literally they just go. The whole house and everything is shaking. Brad, Janet, and Scott get out, and there's like a part of the house that is like an actual rocket
yeah.
that just shoots up, and we pretty much we have it where our friends escape. Frank and Rocky die. Riff Raff, Magenta return home to the galaxy. The heroes are back. Um, in the mundane world, and that pretty much wraps it up. This is a very, very fast script. So I'm like looking at the time. We probably really just talked about the story for about 30 minutes here. So this is going to be a short episode, folks. Mostly just because that's it mainly for story. There really isn't much in there. It more or less it just talks about themes of sexuality and being yourself, and that's pretty much it. So now we got to move on to the musical numbers. Like Chris, what do you think about them? At least here in the script.
Uh, I mean, I thought they were like pretty cool. I had to look up the meaning behind a lot of them, like the Sword of Damocles. Like I had to look up the meaning of that one. I
Yeah,
love old historical mythological stuff, so it's really cool. Like just going back and seeing like what each of the lyrics mean and like what
for
they're
like
trying to say.
some of the people who probably thought this was like smut and everything. This is like very fucking smart. It's very, very smart.
Yeah,
And I really kind of wonder why Richard O'Brien never did. I think he acted in other movies, but I don't think he really did any other like co-writing, directing, or anything. There was one called Shock Treatment he did in '81, about like 6 years afterwards, but I can't think of anything else that he's done outside like he's done some voice work and he's done some acting, but like I would really like something, again, another, like, you can't recreate Rocky Horror. Like that's something you can never do. Even with the remake that they did on Fox TV, it failed
without Tim
because
Curry.
I think they had Tim Curry as the narrator.
Oh, that's still
and
insane.
everything. But yeah, they I think they had maybe some of the people come back, but they were background characters and everything. But other than that, like who they played, it was all recast. It was all different. This is something for what it was made for its time. It was made for where it could have existed. And I'm actually very glad for this. This is a movie that you can turn on for fun, for just the sheer enjoyment. Like I think if you ever feel down and out, like this is something that can really perk you up. Uh, and again, the musical numbers, they're all very memorable. Even though I really only like uh, the Sweet Transvestite and the Time Warp. Like to me, those are the songs that when I was reading the script, I'm like over here just kind of shimmying in my bed, like, oh, like this is fucking catchy. And
I like the Hot
um,
Patootie song. I like that number.
oh, you know what? Yeah, yeah. But Columbia, to me, to be honest, I love anything that Columbia was in. Seeing her dance was fucking phenomenal. Uh, and I didn't really care too much for the Swan song. I was like, oh, okay, it's
Yeah,
okay,
I
it's
mean, it's
okay.
just
It's
kind of
like,
like drawing down the story,
yeah,
the boat.
yeah, which again, I actually like that with some of their musical numbers when they kind of pick up, you know, oh, this is kind of, like they kind of give you like the cliff notes. This is what happened, and this is what's to be, and it probably wouldn't have really worked today or really worked probably with anyone else outside of Tim Curry and O'Brien and Jim. Like with those three, with the Swan song, that worked, especially with some of the songs that kind of added a little bit of um, backstory or whatever that it probably wouldn't have worked for anyone else, but it worked for this film.
Yeah,
Uh, the information that has been sent, because really I can't stand movies that instead of showing us they just tell us, and it's like, oh my god, it's like this was a tell don't show right approach to it,
that that's
because
kind of like how all
there
musicals
was a
are.
performance still in it.
You have to
No,
tell
not really,
almost.
not really. There are some classic ones, like if you watch Singing in the Rain, um there are some, like, yeah, there are some musicals that do a lot of telling, not showing, but at least some of the ones that I've seen, like, they were able to get away with only telling so much, but they still showed quite a lot, to the point where you weren't just over here like, why am I being told this? uh it's a little bit more engaging, and I guess that's just what works with Tim Curry, is while he's feeding us all this information, he's still making it engaging. It's like we're still hanging on to our last little moments with Frankenfurter. Um and yeah, other than that, again, I actually do think the one thing that the script should have stuck with outside of the finished product was the opening. Like, you still could have done like the lips thing and then cross cut it with all of the old classic films, which I'm wondering the reason they didn't do that was they probably couldn't get the rights to it, because like
Yeah,
this
I
was
mean,
made in the 80s, so I don't know if any of these other ones that they were doing, like the Flash Gordon stuff that they were talking about,
yeah,
I don't really know if that was public domain at one point, because obviously not 100 years had passed by, but like
I think it was
they
shorter back
even,
then too. Like I think it was
huh?
like 80 years back then, wasn't it? For things that enter public domain, didn't they
I have no
extend it
clue.
to 100 years? Only like 20 years
all I,
ago or
all I
something.
know is today it's like it's 100.
Yeah,
It's 100. So I have no clue. Also, too, sometimes if you don't copyright it, it's immediate public domain.
yeah,
Like Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It's like the one thing that people can show it anywhere and everywhere, because it was not copyrighted. Um, but yeah. So again, like, I think if you really were probably looking for a musical that's somewhat on this level, that actually had a little bit more of an engaging story, a little bit more of a personal story, then folks, I would actually offer you guys to see Phantom of the Paradise, which actually predates. Um, it predates Rocky Horror, because Rocky Horror was 75. I was talking to Chris about this before we went live about Phantom of the Paradise, which Paul Williams starred in, and he did the music, and it was directed by Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma. Oh my God, I can't speak today, folks.
you okay?
Which again, it's I haven't been the one drinking, Chris. I'm the one that. It's just the coffee. I think I need
Correction,
to
I
go get me
drank
another
last
thing.
night.
So, like Brian De Palma, that's something right there to tune right in. And again, Phantom of the Paradise did the same thing like what um, Rocky Horror did, where it's a musical that took liberties to older literature and older classic tropes of films, which Phantom of the Paradise did Dorian Gray, Phantom of the Opera, and Faust, the Faustinian Tale. Um, and yeah, by I want to say it's Goethe. I think that's who co-wrote Faust, or I think he's the one that wrote it, and then it was translated by another guy. Um, and of course, Phantom of the Paradise, same thing, kind of like um, Rocky Horror. It's like it was a box office bomb. It sit there seems like no one wanted their film history horror telling through a musical with really really fun stuff. But to me, I actually do think, and not to gain heat or anything, I actually do think the musical numbers in Phantom of the Paradise are far better than Rocky Horror, because I think it's a little bit more engaging with the plot compared to Rocky Horror, where like yeah, it all comes in seamlessly, but I don't know. I just think Phantom of the Paradise for me, but I would still watch them.
I'll
Like
have to check it out because like I know Brian De Palma. I love a lot of his movies. Like Body Double. He did the first Mission Impossible, I think, and
yes, he did.
yeah,
And
and
I think he
great
produced the
filmmaker.
second one, didn't he?
No, not the second Mission Impossible. I don't think.
I could have swore I thought he came back for one of the sequels, but only as a producer, like an executive producer or something like that.
Not sure, but he did
Um,
Scarface, Wise Guys, The Untouchables, just a lot of like. Uh, oh, he did the Black Dahlia.
Chris's eyes just caught something and was like, ooh. Yeah, there's one that Brian De Palma did that I want to see. It's Michael Caine. I don't think it's Body Double, um, but it's Michael Caine, and he dresses up as a woman and he kills women in the city. Um,
No, that's Dress to Kill. Yeah, that's De Palma.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's De Palma. That's another great one.
yeah.
We're over here
It's
talking about Rocky
basically
Horror.
just
Now
a
we're talking
remake
about De
of
Palma,
Psycho.
so I apologize.
Yeah,
Pretty much and everything.
he did
And,
Blowout
and it's funny,
too.
but yeah, we're giving you guys so much to watch now.
Sorry,
But
guys.
I do believe though, for this episode, guys, if you guys have not seen Rocky Horror, we probably should have sat there said spoilers ahead in case if you didn't. But obviously, we're talking about the story here, so obviously, hopefully, you guys watch it. I really do think that watching Rocky Horror and then watching Phantom of the Paradise should be a nice pairing. It should be something to be watched together if you just want a nice musical night with your little horror tropes and your fun stuff. Um, I do believe Phantom of the Paradise, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. I do believe so. Um, I did rent it at one point on YouTube, but like it's definitely not worth the price of YouTube. Oh, it's actually on Hulu right now, so you guys
Oh,
can actually go watch that.
for free?
And I think it's the premium subscription for Hulu.
Oh,
But the fun thing is about uh, these movies with Rocky Horror and Phantom, going back to Phantom of the Paradise, is Jessica Harper is the female lead in that one. So if any of you horror nerds or just film nerds to begin with, no, Jessica Harper, she's like the lead in Suspiria, the most iconic Italian horror film, giallo film, and she cut her teeth in horror first before on Phantom of the Paradise, which I always love going back and seeing where actors go in their career, especially from horror film to like a musical number or whatever. So yeah, this has definitely been a very different episode. It's like we did story first. Now we're doing like movie recommendations that kind of follow that and everything. Which really, to me, watch anything De Palma, even The Untouchables, another great De
yep.
Palma film.
Blowout is a great movie. Like the
Which
ending
one?
will make you like, what the
What is it?
Blowout with John Travolta.
I
It's
don't think
a
I've seen that one.
it's a great movie. You should.
Is this like
The
is this around
ending
like
just
his Face
rocks.
Off era, or is this like Urban Cowboy era? Like what
Uh,
era of John Travolta are we talking here?
like shortly, just early '80s. Kind of, I guess after Grease, you know.
Oh, okay. So after Grease and what's it called? What's it called? Carrie. Oh,
Yeah,
Carrie was 76. My bad. My
yeah.
bad.
It's like only
It's
5
called
year
Blue
difference, but
Out.
blowout,
Oh, Blowout.
like a tire
Blowout. Blowout.
blowout.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
know which
Okay.
one?
I've seen a YouTube. Oh, shit. Fuck. I saw a YouTube video that did an analysis on this. I've been wanting to fucking see this movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's like a neo noir mystery thriller, but like it's like a low budget slasher film.
Eh,
Or he records sounds for a low budget slasher film.
yeah, he's an
Okay,
audio engineer, and yeah, for movies and stuff. And
dude,
yeah,
you need to get this on Vudu if it's on there.
uh, eventually I probably will.
Yeah, I still need to get back on there and watch the Back to the Future trilogy and everything. Like actually watch
Still
one,
haven't
two,
watched
and
it.
three. All in, no, I haven't. I've been sitting there and
Ah,
mapping out when I'm gonna have time to fucking watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy again because I fucking miss Middle Earth. Like I've been having a aching to go back to Middle Earth. But I don't want to watch the Amazon Prime Rings thing because I heard bad things about it.
it's absolute garbage. Don't watch it.
Like not from like people sitting there and arguing like the gender or not gender but like the race thing
No,
and
it
everything
totally trashed the
to me it's
history
like it's
and
like it's like
butchered the
it's a
characters.
fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's like anything can fucking happen in a fantasy, you
Not
know.
with Tolkien's world. He has a very
But
meticulous
but
set
yeah,
of
I
events of
did
how things happen.
hear actually by the writing itself, like characters and everything, it's not the best. So it's
It's
like
all
okay,
terrible.
I think I'll skip that. I
It's a
think I
billion
will
dollar
skip
turd.
that. It's $1 million turd.
It's $1 billion turd. They spent
Oh my
58
god.
million per episode, and you wonder who the hell is laundering money with Amazon.
Well, then you know what? Then I wonder then how the hell they're going to get the money to do Dark Tower because that's going to be their next big one that they're doing. Because Mike Flanagan is going to helm it, and he's been
Well,
wanting to do this, which I already trust him with Stephen King properties. He turned
Mike
something.
Flanagan is actually competent, so that
The thing is, though,
he
is
knows
how
what
much
he's
of
doing.
Amazon Studios is gonna put their hand in it.
Yeah,
You know, like to me, I think if there's one thing they could take away from the Dark Tower movie, which was a really really bad idea of saying, "Hey, not everyone has seen the books, so we're gonna make a movie that's a sequel to the books," which you know. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you? Which again, I think the only reason they did that was the licensing was expiring, like for them to make a movie. So they're like, oh, let's just fucking make a movie. I don't care, make it. So we can at least say we did something with this property.
yeah.
Which again, it's a fucking horrible business strategy because you guys lost fucking millions off of that film.
hmm You get a fan
But
force
if there is one thing for the Amazon Prime series I do want, and I don't think they're gonna do it because if they're gonna do it, I guess right, then they may tell the books out of order because there's so much back history of like Roland's childhood and his first love, which God, like that broke me down mentally when I finished that book. Oh my God, I fucking cried. Um, but like they're gonna have to need someone that can do this show for years. And it's so sad that it probably can't be Idris Elba again. I love Idris Elba as Roland. Every time that I read the books, I hear his voice. Um, and then whenever I hear, the Man in Black or Randall Flagg, because he's all those characters, all I hear is Matthew McConaughey now. It used to be.
I still think that was a
Uh,
bad casting choice.
I actually
Because
do think that was good because if you read the books, it makes sense. Because I could see Matthew McConaughey playing a wizard that is serving the main character's father in a royal court, and behind the scenes, he's fucking his wife. He is like I could see Matthew McConaughey play a character like that. But again, the writing was shit.
it
But
just seems so off for that kind of
yeah,
actor.
yeah. Well, like I always like some of the very odd casting choices for people because what was it when they casted Chris Evans as Captain America? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? The Human Torch? And then like it actually turned out in a really good favor. And it's like, okay, it's like so there are moments where even when a studio casts someone, it's like, I don't know if I trust this. And then, it's like it becomes one of my favorite characters, and it's like, oh my God, this is actually really, really good. Um, because even sometimes if the writing's not good, if the actor can at least pull out a really fucking great performance, it's like I'll still like it, and that's what made me like Idris Elba and McConaughey as Roland and the Man in Black. Uh, that's probably really the only two saving graces that are from that fucking movie. Just put it in the Amazon show. Or if you ever need Old Man Roland, fucking hire Idris Elba. It was like, I'll take that. He did good as a gunslinger, and I'm getting my mom to read the book. So even whenever we kind of talk about the movie, she's like, "Yeah, no, that movie is so fucking far off from what these books were." It's like, yeah, they try to squeeze in
It
7
feels
books
like it
into a
didn't even
hour and a
feel
half
like a
movie.
Stephen King kind of story. Like it felt like a paper thin version, like of what Stephen King would write. You know, like just
Yeah,
I don't know, it just
I
felt
think,
off.
yeah. Well, like also too, it didn't have, because if you read the books, it does not have a Stephen King touch whatsoever. Like, even when you read the fantasy books, because really to begin with, the language of King is a little different. When he writes a Dark Tower, it's almost like a totally different human being. But when it comes to like reading the books and then seeing the adaptation, they completely missed the mark. They completely missed it. Um, but folks, we definitely gotten so far off track. We went from
Yeah, our
Rocky to
bad.
Phantom to De Palma to King with the Dark Tower, which currently I'm reading the Dreamcatcher screenplays. So a little nod of what we may cover in the future. Um, uh, what was it? I found out that there's actually a couple of insults that I use, or like what the fuck moments, and I've always wondered where did I pick them up from. And I was like, oh, it's from Jason Lee, yeah, from Dreamcatcher. Like there's a couple of ones like, Holy Freddy got fucked and everything, and it's like, where did I pick that up? And it's like, I pick it up. I pick it up through scripts, and I pick it up through fucking movies and books and everything. So it's like, oh my god, it's like
I'm
I'm a
just
living, breathing
remembering
Stephen King fan.
what's his name's eyebrows. The
Who?
movie. Morgan Freeman isn't Morgan
Oh
Freeman like
yeah,
the
yeah.
bad
How
guy and
bushy
like he
the
has like
eyebrows were.
super bushy eyebrows.
Believe it or not, when I saw the movie first, I thought he played such an asshole. It was like, God, how can he be the villain in this story? But then reading the script, it's like, oh no, he's the fucking hero. Where the fuck did I get this all mixed up? Like the wires were crossed, and
Well,
um,
he's trying to like kill the main guys because they're like infected with alien stuff, right? Like,
well,
or he's like trying to capture them.
he's even having to go through and kill humans that have already been infected.
Yeah,
And Tom Sizemore's character is all like, no, we can't do that. Like, at least we can save some of these people. Some of these people don't even have the infection. It's like, we can at least save them. And it's all like, well, which is it? Do we save a few of them and risk them sending it home as a fucking gift to their family and then spread it out? So which is it? Do we save these people and risk the rest of the world, or do we just kill these people right here and right now and save the rest of the population? Which again, that's a fucking tough. I don't care if cop, military, civilian. That's a tough fucking role to fucking. It's a tough pill to swallow and a tough job to do. If you were ever put in that line of, do we save the few and screw the many, or do we save the many and have to, you know what I'm going through. But
yeah.
um yeah, and believe it or not, it's like Tom Sizemore was actually really, really good in that movie.
Which
he,
one's
he
Tom
was he was
Sizemore?
he played Owens, which was the second in command to I was about to say Samuel L. Jackson. Nope, wrong person. To Morgan Freeman's character. Um, and it is funny because now reading in the script, the voice of Mr. Gray that he uses to switch in between him and Jonesy, in the script they say it's Orson Welles. And I was like, what the fuck? That doesn't sound anything like Orson Welles in the fucking movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, I heard the book's a lot better, but Stephen King hates the book. He puts it up there for like one of the books like he doesn't care for, right next to Tommy Knockers. So it seems like sci-fi he has a struggle writing with, um,
Well,
because
how close of an
he
adaptation was Dreamcatcher? Like, was it like
not by far,
really?
because like a lot of people sat there and said it. Uh, a lot of people sat there and said that Dreamcatcher did perfection in the book what it couldn't do, with how much it relied on the the childhood friendship that the boys had, and where it kind of felt like it kind of got a little too carried away with it. They sat there, said Dreamcatcher did better with it. To me, I actually even think, even from like a script to screen, because I haven't read the book, but to me, I really do feel like you get a really good sense of who these guys are, but also too, it's just how dramatic the theme. not the theme, but the tone of the film goes from like, okay, these are guys that grew up, they're childhood friends, and they're meeting at this cabin in the woods in the memory of their Down syndrome friend from their childhood who is sick right now with cancer. And so they're gonna like have this retreat and they're gonna remember about the finer days. And then you get this alien, like this alien story thrown right into it. And so you kind of get a bit of Stand By Me at the beginning, but a much more darker, kind of like a sequelized version of it. And then bam, alien invasion, and that's the rest of the story. And it's like, what? But also too, he wrote this while on oxycodone because he was recovering from being hit um, by that guy driving the van. So like, yeah, anytime King tries to write sci-fi while either going through like a drug binge or recovering from the accident, it didn't work. um you know that was kind of like a tough time for King to begin with any of his creativity. But again, we got so freaking far off track. We were trying to at least stretch the episode out because we didn't just want to release like a 45-minute episode of us just talking about this. Like, we actually want to sit there and give you guys content to enjoy. We got so off track. Chris, do you have any final thoughts about Rocky Horror?
Uh, yeah, no, it's I love the musical numbers. Sword of Damocles still is in my mind. I love it when he's brought to life and starts singing it, and just like the how it like ties into the whole theme of the story. Kind of just relates to the whole Frankenfurter like having a sword above his head for doing all this shit, and then he dies at
Yeah,
the end. Like, oh, you think
it's
being in charge is so great, and then he dies. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I just it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie to like watch, like when you're just, I guess, trying to explore your sexuality, and like it, you know, pulls, I guess, things like it uncovers your eyes when it comes to
yeah.
that kind of stuff. It opens your
Also too,
mind to things.
it's a great party film. It's like the
Yeah.
one damn thing that you can play it on people who pay attention. And they even do it with the theaters whenever they do um they go play it like in the little small theaters, and like the people go there, and anytime Brad's on the screen, everyone sits there and says, "Hey, asshole." And it's definitely something very much audience engaging. It's a very audience engaged film.
Yeah.
uh, and then when people are doing like the singing and they're dancing up on the stage right in front of the screen, uh, it's definitely fun. And I know Houston does a couple of those shows throughout the year. We definitely need to go there and go see the live performances and everything. And
Yeah.
because again,
Which
like
version?
they're fun. They're meant to be fun. It's a fun movie. Most films should be fun.
Which version of the
There's
script
some
was this?
there's
Or
huh
did it say which version of the script this was in the?
no, it does
Oh,
not.
oh, okay.
Which I'm guessing it had to be close to the final script because since they changed the intro,
Yeah.
that's really about the only thing in the script that's different. Everything else is pretty much the same. They may
Which
have changed like a
honestly,
lyric or two.
like lipstick balm lips mouth like singing to you in the beginning, it
Hmm.
kind of fits with the whole tone of
Yeah,
the entire film, so you don't really mind it, and you wouldn't
yeah,
really notice the difference unless you read the script.
yeah.
So
But I kind of did like that film. That's just me for a film fan.
yeah,
As a film history thing, it's like I would have preferred that. I would actually like to sit there and see Richard O'Brien release a different cut of the film with that intro. I'm pretty sure like they could have at least now by then get, well, God, like what, at least half of what the hell he was referencing through the space age science fi stuff. It should be in public domain right now. It should be, I think. That the copyright stuff should have all expired. So he could easily have sat there and cut it. And it's like, oh, this was like the original intro. So the fans could have the original, which, had all the lip singing and everything, with the big red lips, or you can have what was in the script and everything. And you
and
can you can feed both sides of the fandom,
going
you
into
know.
watching the movie after Susan Sarandon, oh, she looked fantastic in her prime, man.
She actually
She's
still does too.
gorgeous.
Fucking Susan Sarandon,
Uh,
she still looks good.
I mean, yeah, she still looks great, but man, like I would have loved to meet her like back then.
Keep it in your pants, man. Keep it in your pants.
I'll try.
Oh my god.
I
All
can't
right.
help but
Well,
admire a beautiful woman.
Folks, we're gonna wrap it up here for a very short episode of Cinema Alley. Chris, where can the folks find you?
You can look up Zealous Slacker on social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, and you can find me as the Gothic Storyteller on Instagram and Twitch. Those are pretty much the only two freaking social media platforms I have limited myself to, thank God. And TikTok. I'm on TikTok, but I'm pulling back a
TikTok.
little bit for TikTok. But yeah, so if there is a movie recommendation you guys want to sit there and send to us for us to cover it in script form, do drop it in our socials, send it to us in a DM, and we will try to find a script to it. And yeah, that'll be it, folks. I will catch you guys next month for our Halloween double feature. Uh, Chris, do we really want to unveil what those movies are? Or do we want to keep it a secret for
Keep
them?
it a secret, man.
Oh,
Let's
oh, okay,
entice
okay.
them. Like, oh
I was
man,
I
what
was
could it
good. I
be?
was yeah, yeah. Well, I was gonna. I was trying to be nice. God damn it! All right, folks. I was gonna try to sit through at least give them one little tidbit of it, but yeah, it will be a double feature for the month of October. For Halloween, we have a double feature chiller classic. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy. And with that, folks, don't stop watching movies. Catch you guys later.
Bye bye.